What if I told you the hardest ranking in women's college basketball is not South Carolina versus UConn, or Caitlin Clark versus Paige Beckers? It is figuring out which UConn legend actually belongs at number 1. Because at UConn, being great is not enough. You have to be historic. And by the end of this video, somebody's favorite Husky is absolutely going to be ranked too low.
Prime Field!
Today we are ranking the greatest UConn women's basketball All-American legends, from the foundation builders like Rebecca Lobo, to the dynasty killers like Breanna Taurasi, to the modern stars like Paige Beckers and Sarah Strong. This is not just a list of points per game. That would be way too easy. We are talking championships, era dominance, cultural impact, clutch moments, program importance, and the one question that UConn fans never agree on: who actually defines the standard? And listen, this ranking is going to make people mad. Good. That means we did it right. So let's count it down. At number 10, we start with the riskiest name on the list, Sarah Strong. Now, before everyone starts yelling, yes, her story is still being written. She does not have the 4-year resume of a Maya Moore or a Breanna Stewart. She does not have the decade-long mythology of Diana Taurasi. But if we are talking about UConn's future, Sarah Strong is the player who already feels like the bridge into the next dynasty chapter. She helped UConn win the 2025 national championship and then became one of the defining stars of the undefeated 2025-26 regular season. That matters, because modern UConn is not playing in the same world as the old Big East machine. There's more parity, more NIL pressure, more national attention, and more teams that can actually punch back. Here's the debate line. Sarah Strong is not top 5 yet, but if you are building a UConn team for the next 4 years, she might be the first player you call, and that is why she sneaks into the top 10. At number 9, Paige Beckers. Paige is one of the most fascinating UConn players ever because her career is basically 2 stories at once. Story 1, the prodigy. The freshman national player of the year, the player who came in with social media hype, impossible expectations, and somehow still looked like the most polished guard in the country. Story 2, the comeback, the injuries, the missed time, the question of whether we would ever really see the full Paige Beckers experience again. And then 2025 happened. UConn beats South Carolina 82-59 in the national championship game. Paige finally gets the ring. And suddenly her legacy shifts from what if to she survived it. UConn's 2025 title is central to the verified research and modern ranking frame. ESPN and AP coverage also confirmed the 82-59 championship result. Here's my hot take. Paige Beckers is not the greatest UConn player ever, but she might be the most emotionally important UConn star of the modern era, because she brought a new audience with her, and she gave that audience a championship ending. At number 8, Swin Cash. Swin Cash was not just part of the dynasty, she was part of the team that made UConn feel unfair. The 2002 team had Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, Asja Jones, Tamika Williams, and Swin Cash. That is not a roster. That is a warning label. Cash brought power. She brought physicality. She brought that edge that made UConn more than pretty passing and perfect spacing. And when we talk about UConn toughness, Swin Cash has to be in that conversation. She could score, rebound, defend, run, and lead. And maybe more importantly, she made UConn feel inevitable before inevitable became the program's brand. If you rank UConn players only by individual numbers, you miss why Swin Cash mattered. She was culture in a jersey. She was culture. At number 7, Napheesa Collier. Napheesa Collier is the player casual fans underrate and basketball people absolutely love. She was not always the loudest star. She was not the most viral highlight, but she was almost always in the right place, making the right play, punishing every mistake. Collier represents one of the most UConn things imaginable: low-drama dominance. She could score inside, rebound, switch defensively, run the floor, and make every lineup make sense. And her pro career only reinforces what UConn fans already knew. This was not just a system player. This was an elite basketball brain with elite production. Here's the debate. If Napheesa Collier had played in a less crowded UConn era, we might talk about her as a top 5 Husky. But at UConn, sometimes even legends have to share the spotlight. At number 6, Tina Charles. Tina Charles was the anchor. Maya Moore may have been the headline star of that era, but Tina Charles was the interior force that made everything else work. She remains one of the greatest post players UConn has ever had, and her rebounding legacy is massive. The cleaned research correctly identifies her as UConn's all-time leading rebounder. And what made Charles so dangerous was that she was not just big. She was skilled. She ran the floor, she had touch, she controlled the paint, she forced defenses to collapse, which gave UConn's shooters and slashers even more room to destroy people. If Maya Moore was the lightning, Tina Charles was the thunder. And here's the part people forget. UConn's historic dominance in that period was not built only on perimeter greatness. It was built because Tina Charles made the middle of the floor belong to UConn. At number 5, Sue Bird. Sue Bird is the point guard standard, not just at UConn in basketball. She was never about overwhelming you with scoring numbers. She was about control, tempo, timing, trust. With Bird, UConn felt organized before the possession even started. She managed stars, controlled big moments, and made the game look simple, which, as every real hooper knows, is usually the hardest thing to do. The 2002 team was loaded, but loaded teams still need a brain. Sue Bird was that brain, and when your college resume becomes the foundation for one of the greatest professional careers ever, it changes how we remember the college years too. Sue Bird may not be the flashiest UConn legend, but she might be the player every coach would trust most, with the season on the line. That is a different kind of greatness. At number 4, Rebecca Lobo. Before UConn was UConn, there was Rebecca Lobo, and that sentence matters, because younger fans see the banners, the WNBA stars, the TV games, the Apple TV documentary, the packed arenas, and it can feel like UConn was always supposed to be this. It wasn't. The 1995 team changed everything. Lobo was the face of UConn's first national championship team, the leader of an undefeated season, and one of the first women's college basketball players to become a true national name. That is why Lobo's legacy is bigger than numbers. She was the proof of the concept. She showed that this program in Storrs, Connecticut could take over the sport. And if we are talking about emotional importance, she has to be near the top. Without Rebecca Lobo, the UConn dynasty is not a dynasty. It is just an idea waiting to happen. At number 3, Diana Taurasi. Now this is where the comment section starts throwing chairs, because there is a real argument that Diana Taurasi should be number 1. Not because she has the best stats. She does not. Not because she won 4 titles. She did not. But because no UConn player has ever carried the, we're winning because I'm here energy quite like Taurasi. She was confidence turned into a basketball player. After the 2002 super team lost its veterans, UConn was supposed to come back to earth. Instead, Taurasi basically said, "No, we're still UConn," and kept the championships coming. Her rivalry moments, her swagger, her fearlessness, that changed the personality of the program. Rebecca Lobo made UConn beloved. Taurasi made UConn hated. And honestly, that might be when the dynasty became fully alive. If there are 5 seconds left and UConn needs one shot, I am still giving the ball to Diana Taurasi. That is the argument. That is the legend. At number 2, Maya Moore. Maya Moore is the statistical monster of this list. 3,036 career points, 1,276 rebounds, multiple national titles, leader of the 90-game winning streak era. The cleaned research frames Moore as UConn's statistical GOAT, and that is exactly the right way to say it. She was not just great, she was relentless. Every night it felt like Maya Moore was going to give you 20 points and make the correct rotation, grab the tough rebound, hit the momentum 3, and somehow still look like she had another gear. This is why a lot of UConn fans still have her number 1, because if your argument is, who was the best basketball player, possession to possession, night after night, Maya Moore might be the answer. She was the perfect UConn machine, but with superstar creativity inside it. Here's the debate line. Breanna Stewart has the best resume. Maya Moore might have been the best player, and that is why this top 2 is almost impossible. At number 1, Breanna Stewart. 4 years, 4 national championships, 4 Final Four Most Outstanding Player awards. That is not a resume. That is a cheat code. Breanna Stewart is number 1 because at UConn, winning is not just part of the standard. Winning is the standard. And nobody embodied that better. She arrived with impossible expectations and somehow exceeded them. She became the matchup nightmare every opponent feared. Too long for wings, too skilled for posts, too calm for pressure. Stewart was the final boss of the most dominant era in women's college basketball, and every March when the lights got brighter, she got more inevitable. That is why she edges Maya more for me. Not because Maya is missing anything. Maya is unbelievable. But Stewart's NCAA tournament record is just too ridiculous to ignore. If your UConn GOAT argument starts with championships, it has to end with Breanna Stewart. And for me, that is the tiebreaker. So here's where we land. But let's be real, this is not clean. If you value foundation, Rebecca Lobo is higher. If you value clutch, Taurasi might be number 1. If you value pure all-around dominance, Maya Moore might be number 1. If you value winning, Breanna Stewart is the answer. And if you are projecting the future, Sarah Strong could make this entire list look different in a few years. That is what makes UConn different. Most programs are lucky to have one player who can start a GOAT debate. UConn has about 6. So my final answer is Breanna Stewart at number 1, Maya Moore at number 2, and Diana Taurasi at number 3. But I already know a lot of you are going to flip that order. And honestly, that is the fun part. Because ranking UConn legends is really ranking what you believe matters most in basketball. Rings, numbers, clutch moments, or legacy. So now I want your list. Who is your UConn GOAT? Who did I rank way too high? Who got disrespected? And is Sarah Strong already top 10? Or are we moving too fast? Drop your rankings in the comments because I promise UConn fans are going to have opinions. And if you want the next video, we can do the greatest UConn teams ever. 1995, 2002, 2010, 2016, 2025, and decide which team is actually the most unstoppable.
Prime Field!